The drunken disorderly. Load 2 bobbins. One with Uni Rusty Dunn 6/0 and one with Vivus 6/0 white. Start with a smaller B10S hook in size 8. Go to your foxtail and cut a clump off about a width of a pencil. Go ahead and cut that off, and then go ahead and strip out all the crappy and fuzzy underfur fibers, leaving only guard hairs. Put your hook in your vise and start your thread right behind the eye. Wrap down to the bend. Cut the tag end of the thread off. Grab the clump of foxtail, measure it 2 times the hook shank in length. Transfer that measurement to the bend, and then tie it down. The tail of the fly should be extending 2 times the hook shank in length. Then go to your puller flash. Strip 8 or so from the hank and cut those off free. Fold those in half and cut the loop. Tie it down a little ways behind the eye. And then cut it at an angle just past extending the foxtail fibers. Then go to your puller flash chenille. Go ahead and tie that in right at the bend of the hook and start making touching wraps up the body of the fly, making sure to sweep the fibers out of the way every time you wrap. When you get up 2/3 of the way of the hook, go ahead and cut it off. Then go to your cross-cut rabbit strips. Secure the tip with the fibers sweeping back towards the fly. Tie that down and go ahead and take a couple more wraps to where you get up to the eye of the hook. Go ahead and tie that off and cut it off. Make a nice little bullet head on the fly. Then go ahead and find a mallard flank feather that's the size of the fly you just tied. It should extend a little past the rabbit strip fibers in length. Go ahead and tie that on top of the hook, whip finish, and cut your thread off. I like to coat the head in Sally Hansen's to add to the durability of the fly. Go ahead and set that hook aside. Now grab the 90-degree jig hook and some sinuous wire. Put a drop of UV glue on about in the little past the halfway point of the hook, right above the point of the hook. And then cure that and start your thread just in the middle of the hook. Wrap down into the bend a little bit. Grab the wire and tie it down, just extending past your thread wraps. Then tie it down into the bend. Fold that little extending piece over and tie it on the far side. Then bend it, leaving a little bit of a gap past the hook shank, and cut the wire off to length. Get 2 glass beads. Thread them on the wire. And then with the hook point down, go from under your hook eye and over from the second fly and loop it in the wire. And tie that down with another extending piece of the wire. Then go ahead and fold that extending piece of the wire back. This helps make sure that the fly won't slip out if a fish bites the back hook. Then coat the wraps of the wire in Sally Hansen's. Grab a 3mm glass rattle. Tie that directly on top of the hook, on top of the wire wraps. Take wrap securing it and wraps under the rattle but over the hook shank to secure those wraps as well. I also like to cover this in Sally Hansen's so it doesn't swivel around the hook. Now grab another clump of foxtail, similar to the one you just did on the back hook. Tie that down on the bend. It should extend just past the mallard flank feather of the first fly. Then again, go and get another similar piece of puller flash and use the same technique, folding it, cutting it off, and tying it down. And then cut it to an angle just past the foxtail, just as before. This time go to your crosscut rabbit strips and take touching wraps up to the glass rattle. Then go ahead and tie that off. Now go to your UV chenille. Tie that down right behind the rattle and start taking touching wraps up over the rattle. When you get to the end of the rattle, take a couple more wraps in front of it and go ahead and tie the material off and cut it off. Then grab yet one more clump of the foxtail and tie it down right in front of the rattle. Go ahead and cut the butts off clean. Then grab one more section of puller flash just as before, using the same technique, and tie it down. Again, cutting it at an angle just past extending the foxtail. Now grab 2 mallard flank feathers of matching size. Strip all the fuzzies off, leaving 2 similar feathers. Tie one on the far side that combs over the body. It should reach just past the bend of the 90-degree jig hook, or the 60-degree jig hook. Then tie one on the near side as well. And cut the stems off close. Now finally, go to your cross-cut rabbit strips one more time. Tie in the tip and take just a couple more wraps to cover up the exposed thread. Once you get a good collar, go ahead and tie it off and cut the material off close. Then go ahead and whip finish the 6/0 rusty dun off and cut it off. Slide a rubber band over so when you're cutting deer hair, you don't clip any of the rabbit fibers. Now start your Vivis 6/0 in white on your thread. Cut a pencil's width off of deer hair and go ahead and stack the tips. Once the tips are even, go ahead and take that to your fly. The tip should extend just past the rabbit fur, the fibers. Now cut the butts off even and tie that down right where your thread is started. Now go ahead into your white and cut about a similar in width clump of deer hair. This time you can go ahead and cut the tips off close though. And tie that down on the bottom of the fly. Jump your thread up before the two clumps and grab another identical clump of deer hair, this time in tan on top. You'll follow the same pattern. Tan will be on top and white will be on bottom. And tie the white one on bottom. And then when you get past the bend of the hook, position your hook so that the shank that is bended is now horizontal and parallel to the ground. Now you can go ahead and just spin the tan deer hair. No need to put any more white on the bottom to make a nice little face. You should be able to fit two clumps identical as those before. You may need to push the deer hair a little bit in order to whip finish your thread. Go ahead and cut your thread off. Now, using the bend of the hook as a guide, go ahead and continue that bend up on the top and up on the bottom, following the curvature of the hook. Make two flat surfaces, as if making a Dullberg diver. It should be kind of a ramp tapering up to the tips of the deer hair. Then go ahead and create a broad point by cutting off the sides of the head in a 45-degree angle or so. It should be a squarish head, no need to round it. Cut any crazy fibers that may be sticking off towards the collar. You can use this with a razor blade, but all mine were dull. And you're a little bit more precise with scissors. Now go to your eyes. Strip two away from the plastic. Put a super glue dot in the middle of the head on the far side, and do the same with the near side. Place an eye on each one of those dots. Then go ahead with UV glue, cover the top of the head with a thin layer of UV resin, making sure to lightly touch each eye so they're more durable and won't pop out of the eye. Then go ahead and cure that glue. Once it's cured, that's the fly. Oh, go ahead and cut the rubber band off to free the rabbit fur. And that's it.